How you guys doing?
We're alcoholics.
I'm Tino Gonzalez. I am president of the board of directors for Way of the Sword Combat Sports. This is Cody, also on the board of directors. Way of the Sword Combat Sports originally started out as the Sakura Empire, which became WotS, which had a slight downturn, and we have made our resurgence in the last couple of years as Way of the Sword Combat Sports. We've done a pretty big effort. We've made a pretty big effort to rebrand and sort of reorganize our game from the ground up with the sort of foundation of good foam fighting that many of us have experienced over the last couple of years, playing a multitude of games, along with my background in traditional Japanese martial arts, along with the multitude of other martial arts that are out there that can be helpful to anyone and everyone. Some of the things that we're going to talk about today are the things that have historically been good for us in terms of recruiting, along with some of the things that are good for us now, and maybe the things that we can try implementing in the future, as far as, getting where we all want to be, which is to have really nice, 100-man day battles on the regular basis. So Cody, if you want to talk a little bit about maybe yourself and your involvement in the sport?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll start off with my little bit of a spiel, just to give you some context on my background. So I started sport back in 2009, 2010, and I saw our recruiting efforts at an all-time high. But it was easy back then. We were all in high school. We had access to every kind of network you could imagine. I mean, thousands of people at one school. Yeah, really easy to pull people out there. So we've kind of had, but now, 10 years later, or almost 10 years later, we've had to relearn how to do a lot of that. We don't have access to the same networks that we had before. So where I learned to do that, I was with a corporation called Amway. Some of you know it as network marketing or pyramid scheme, right? I'm not here to talk about that, but what I learned through that is how to connect with people, how to network with people. Because nothing motivates you to learn how to do that better than when your business absolutely survives on it. So I'm no longer with them, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons through that. And word of mouth is really the biggest way that any business and any sport grows, especially one like ours. You need to be talking to people all the time. Just get it out there. What else can I say on that? Really, I mean, there's quite a bit I can go into, but where would you like to?
That actually leads into something that I wanted to say, which word of mouth has historically been, and I think will continue to be the #1 driving factor in terms of recruitment for foam fighting. Back in the day, when we all started in Way of the Sword, or in the pre-Way of the Sword days, the Sakura Empire days, we were mostly kids. Some of us were in our late teens or early 20s, and so we had just this entire massive group of friends to draw from and to talk about the sport with. Some of these guys have known each other since high school. Some of these guys have known each other since middle school, and so you go, hey, I'm doing this really cool thing. You want to come out with me? Hey, you tell your friend, and it spread like wildfire. As we've all gotten older, our groups of friends have gotten smaller, so we have a smaller pool of friends to draw from. And I know that in the Dagorhir community, most of our friend groups are in the Dag community. We, the foam fighting community in Florida especially, have become very tight-knit. Most of our friends are already in foam fighting.
Right.
That's not a bad thing, but it just means we have fewer people to draw from. Another really valuable thing that Way of the Sword had back in the day is connections with conventions, anime conventions, comic book conventions, toy conventions. It was a very good way to just get our name out there. Sometimes we'd rent booths, let people try out the sport, because we can all agree that for those of us who get into it, the sport is addictive, and all it took was that first time holding a sword for us to go, yeah, I could do this for a while. So going forward, we can still look at conventions as possible venues. I know that, for instance, Farron from Ebb and Light does have contacts with Tampa Bay Comic Con, for instance, and every year we have a big recruiting push that is geared through the entire foam fighting community, not any one individual organization. So that's going forward. That's going to be very, very, very helpful for us. And I think one of the main concerns and one of the reasons why the overall usage of conventions as a recruiting venue kind of stopped is because we started getting a lot of people whose initial instinctive fighting styles was not necessarily in line with what we like to see out here, you know, not necessarily with what's practical or with what's aesthetically pleasing for us, and sometimes even dangerous. And so as a result, we end up kind of shunning these newcomers from kind of getting involved because it's hard to fix bad habits. It's easy to teach good ones from the beginning. So if people come into this with a full cup, unwilling to learn new things, and they just kind of do their own thing, it's really hard to fix them. Because it's not until those people decide to empty out the cup and they go, okay, what I'm doing isn't working, let me try something new. And sometimes we don't have the patience to sit and wait for that to happen. But I think if we just learn to have that patience, instead of trying to beat it out of them and be kind of mean about it and like, you'll learn, don't worry, you'll learn, give it more of like a, hey, you know, you didn't win that time, let's just keep trying and see what happens. Or hey, we're gonna be offering these training sessions over here, you don't have to join, but if you want to and you want to get better, this might help you. And eventually when everyone else is, as Cody said to me, eventually when everyone else is doing the right thing and this one person over here is doing not so right thing, eventually he's gonna see that and he's either gonna leave or he's gonna come and join everyone doing the right thing. We want to create an environment of support and nurturing and fostering of good values in terms of fighting technique, in terms of making good garb. That's another very, very clean thing that I know your group does really well, is most of your guys have very good garb at 90% of your practices, and your armor looks good and you guys fight well. So you guys project an image of professionality, so when people come into it, they get hooked very quickly.
Correct. I mean, this isn't a bragging point, but people are more attracted to, how can I say, something that looks authentic. I mean, it's more exciting to see a group of people dressed like samurai and fighting each other than it is like a bunch of dudes in t-shirts and gym shorts. And that's how it is. I know it's hot out. I know we're out there for a casual time, but if you make, like, for instance, your Ragnarok garb, your every practice garb, and you go out into a park where there's, you know, always a lot of people out there on a Sunday, Saturday, Friday, whichever day you practice, people are going to be interested. They're going to come up and talk to you and want to know what you're doing.
So, being visible is also a really important thing. There are some groups that have like very infrequent practices, like me, and that's one of the reasons why they have such a hard time recruiting. So if you guys give me like another 30 minutes, I'm not going to take that much of your time, but if you give me that time, I can tell you exactly every mistake that I've been making over the last 6 months and why recruiting has been awful for me. A large part of it has to do, good to see you guys, a large part of it has to do with the fact that I had a job that didn't give me a regular enough schedule to host practices. No practices means nobody to come, or no reason to come foam fight. Nobody coming to foam fight means nobody can go to events. Nobody going to events means events never get bigger. So the more emphasis you put on having something to stay regularly, consistently, even if it's only 1 or 2 people coming out, the more likely you are to have people come to that. Whether it's somebody just walking through the park, or somebody going, hey, I heard this thing happens at the park, let me go check it out. Or even social networking has been a huge, huge impact on Way of the Sword. I don't know about you guys specifically. I mean, your social media presence is huge.
Yeah, and that took some time to build up. So if you haven't worked on your branding for your unit, I mean, get on it. You know, I'm sure everyone has a Facebook page for their unit groups, like, you know, Tree and Shores or whoever else. Have a like page too. Have a way that people who aren't directly a part of the group, that like they can connect with you and find opportunities to do like some community service events. Take some pictures, post it, you know, boost the post for like $20 for a week. people will see it. They'll want to know what's going on. I mean, it's not going to be a main source of recruiting for you. It's going to be really like some one-offs here and there. People are going to message you out of the blue, say, hey, I want to come out to this. Sure. Like, come on out. They might never come back. But it's always good to have visibility. Always. Never have too much.
So, one of the other really important things is being able to talk to people who come out to practices, or people who, like, just talk to newcomers in general. Even if it's like going out on the street and handing somebody a flyer, if I can't talk about what I do in an effective manner, nobody's going to want to do what I do. Why should anyone care if I can't talk about it right? If I can't put in their head the image of what we do and give them a reason to want to do it, why should they do it? So, learning good, effective sales tactics is also very helpful. And sales doesn't have to be like, let me make you want this thing that you don't actually want. That's not what sales is about.
Right.
Sales really is about making connections with people.
Correct.
Just talking to them, figuring out what they want, and helping them figure out if what they want aligns with what you have to offer. So, what I'll do is I'll go to a convention, I'll hand out some flyers, and I'll talk to people and just kind of create a connection. I might get a phone number, and then later on in the week or later on in the month, I might cold call them and be like, hey, we're having this day battle in a couple weeks. Do you want to come check it out? You know, I remember you seemed interested when we were at the convention. Here's an opportunity to come do it. Do you want to give it a try? Hey, yeah, sure, that sounds pretty cool. Or, I don't know, like, you'll get a lot of these of, I don't know, like, I'm kind of busy that weekend, but maybe next time, and that's fine. Ask, is it okay if I ask you to let you know when the next one is? Yeah, sure. Or, nah, I'm really not that interested. Okay, thanks. Thanks for your time, bye. That's all it has to be. And you don't have to be a super A-type personality to be a salesperson.
No.
You can be very introverted. As long as you can make connections with people, as long as you can talk to people, that's all it is. And I think we could all benefit, regardless of what we do, even if our intention isn't to go out and recruit. I think we could all benefit from just improving our communication skills, developing our charisma. Drop a couple stat points.
Yeah, one of the things that they trained us to do when I was a part of Amway is they say, okay, you have to have a certain number of conversations a week because it's a numbers game. You play the numbers, you get the results. So if you go out and have 20 conversations a week, and then like one of those people comes out to practice, that's a freaking win. Absolutely. Well, maybe you left them with a business card. They had some time to think it over. Maybe they didn't come out that week. Maybe they came out the next week after they're like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll make some time for this. And so they come out to the practice, it's a freaking blast. They had a great time. They're super excited about it. What are they going to do now? They're going to annoy the hell out of their friends about it to come out and participate. And when they finally come out, you know, after months and months of their friend bugging them to come out and do this weird sword fighting thing, they come out, have a great time, and suddenly you're opening up your network. It's kind of like a cascade effect. You have new people coming out, maybe some stay, maybe some don't, but if they're really excited about it, they're going to stay, and if you get them invested, they're going to want Garb, equipment, all that good stuff. You guys know how it goes. It's not your first rodeo.
So one of the really, really, really important things to keep in mind is that it's always really hard to recruit if there are people trying to undermine you, which means it's also hard for them to recruit if you're trying to undermine them. Now, we want to avoid that because the only way I know I've been saying this a lot in regards to Way of the Sword and its relationship with the rest of the fighting community, we only do better if everyone does well. We're not a barrel of crabs trying to pull ourselves out by pulling other people down. We only come up, like, I think my buddy Matt said it best with rising tides help raise all ships. So if we just improve the community as a whole, it benefits everyone. So if I develop a good relationship with, let's say I develop a good relationship with Sunbear, and Sunbear finds somebody who's moving from his area to my area, he'll go, hey, I know somebody in the area you're moving to who might be interested in foam fighting. Why don't you talk to this person? And now suddenly, somebody just recruited for you. That's less work that you had to do. All because all you did was just be nice to someone else. I know that when we do the recruiting push at some of the cons, if it's multiple groups helping run the recruiting push, we will take a list of everybody's areas and find out what foam fighting is happening in those areas. And when we talk to people, oh, where do you live? Oh, you're in Apopka? That's Central Florida, right? Well, I don't know how far that is from Castleberry, but you can always check out Fumetsu's practices. Those are really fun. Or you could go, Tampa. Well, there's a couple foam fighting groups in Tampa. You've got Sylvam in Spring Hill. You've got Tatsukai no Oni in Tampa Lowry Park, and then just across the bridge over in St. Pete, you have Ebon Light. You're in foam fighting Mecca right there, or something like that. You got the more you help everybody, the more they're willing to help you. And that leads me into marketing, which I know we talked about marketing a little bit, just doing recruiting.
Any way to call for lost and found from Hold on.
Okay. I thought they were raising your hand. I'm like, oh, one moment. The big difference between sales and marketing as far as recruiting goes, marketing is like throwing a fishing line out into the water and waiting. The more fishing lines you throw out into the water, the more likely you are to catch a fish, right? So if you just throw the fishing lines out into the water, put a bell on a couple of them, and then walk away, you can go grab a net and catch some fish directly, and you also have those lines out in the water. So marketing and sales are two aspects of the same coin that work in different ways, but should be used in tandem. Never rely solely on one. Marketing helps because you can just get your name out there to a lot of people. Sales helps because when you talk to one person directly, you're gonna make sure that you have pinpoint accuracy every single time. One of the other really cool things about it is that if somebody sees a flyer for your game or for your park or practice, and they're not really all that interested, but then they meet you, they talk to you about it, and they go, oh wait, I saw that flyer, that was really cool. Now they're interested, now they're hooked. Or vice versa. I talked to somebody directly, they're kind of on the fence about it, they haven't hit that 100% certainty. But then they see your flyer 2 months later, they go, you know what, I've given it a second thought, maybe I'll give it a try. It's that simple, sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
Steven, do you have anything you want to add?
What do you want to close with, and I'll make some closing remarks.
So, ultimately, we help everybody, we help ourselves, we help each other, and everything gets better. I think that events like the one we just had today are great because they're very easy recruiting tools. You go, hey, in fact, just last night, I was talking to one of the guys who occasionally comes to my practices, and I know that if he were to just come to one good event, he would be hooked, and I would see him at every single practice instead of every 5th practice. So I said to him last night, I go, hey, there's a day battle happening tomorrow in Eustis. I'm driving up. Do you want to drive with me? He said no, because he already had something to do. But he seemed interested when I told him how big these events get. If we keep doing this, we keep helping each other out, it's going to help us all grow.
Absolutely.
I would like to come to the next. I don't know if I'll be able to make it to the very, very next July or the very, very next state day battle, but I would like to come to a state day battle in the near future and have 150 people on one field. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I know you guys may have been expecting a quick tips and tricks to recruiting, but it's not that simple. There's a lot that goes into it. The biggest thing I could advise is learn how to connect with people, how to build rapport, learn how to read some body language. So simple stuff like mirroring somebody. We like someone who moves and talks the way we do. You can learn to mimic those things. It's not manipulating someone, it's building rapport, building influence, I should say. Manipulation has what is it?
that seedy kind of...
you want to get something out of somebody. It's no, I just want to come to my practice and swing foam swords.
Be honest about your intentions, because you don't want anybody to come out here so you can murder them. You want them to come out here because you want to play your sport, and the sport gets more fun the more people there are doing it.
Correct.
So be honest about your intentions.
And know how to set expectations. It's very disconcerting when you tell people yeah, you know, we get together every Sunday. There's like 50 people. We have big wars and stuff. It's like Lord of the Rings, and they come out. It's more like a few dudes here and there, kind of dressed up in cloaks, swinging wacky bats. Gotta set expectations. It's one thing to like talk it up and build it up. It's another thing to kind of like mislead people. Another thing I noticed is that most of us seem to be a little embarrassed to share this with people. You know, it's not likely that you talk to a stranger on the street and they ask you what you do on the weekend. You're probably not going to say, I dress like a medieval knight and phone fight. You're going to say something else. You know, I like to play video games, or maybe I do soccer. At least that's what I've known most people to do. I'm not saying you guys do that. That's just what I've noticed. So if someone asks you what you do on the weekend, you're like, yeah, I dress up as a samurai and I grab a foam weapon and me and my friends beat the crap out of each other. You know, that's what I use personally. I would tailor yours a little more. You know, some people are not quite so vulgar, but that's what I use. One of my favorite stories to tell people is the time I walked into a gas station. I was talking to the clerk a little bit. I asked him what he did on the weekend, so he asked me the same question back. That's what I gave him. Like, yeah, me and my friends dress up as samurai. We fight with foam weapons. And he gave me like, oh, that's cool. That's sort of like he did not think that was cool at all. Like, this was probably the like dumbest thing he had ever heard. But I went in there and like I told him, I had the conversation. I put it out there to him. Because you can't ever judge people just by looking at them. You don't know who's interested in this. You know, I've been talking to this guy for like 5 minutes. I don't know what the hell he does or what he likes or what he's going to be into. So, again, you can't assume. With anyone you talk to, put it out there. You never know. I have like at least 10 people at my practice who I would have never thought would have been really into this. I mean, they're like bulky bodybuilder dudes. And I'm like, what are you doing here versus a samurai like fighting foam weapons? Would never have expected that if I was passing by on the street. So that's all I would close off with on that. Learn to connect with people, learn to talk with people, and go out of your way to have conversations with people. Go places that people are. That's about it. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, actually, a little bit talking about just that one of the finer points, and I'll just kind of close with this.
Sure.
So, a couple of really good books that you can look at, or good resources. Charisma on Command is a YouTube channel that I follow that is very helpful. They have character breakdowns for like characters in pop culture shows, like Game of Thrones. They break down like the charisma of famous actors and celebrities. They show you like things that people do in speech that might either be good or bad for helping influence others. For instance, they might be talking about like Robert Downey Jr. and his very devil-may-care attitude when he talks, how he just sort of, he's cool because he just gives off the vibe of being cool with his body language and the way he talks and the way he answers questions and so on and so forth. It's an entire channel of just that. It's a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. It's helped me be very effective in sales. Another book that's a massively helpful resource is The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Jordan Belfort, the famous guy from Wolf of Wall Street, teaches his straight line sales pitch methodology. It is an incredible read. I have it on Audible. So I cheated, I didn't actually read it. But, you know, when I went back and watched The Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio nailed it right down to his intonation when he's doing a sales pitch. It's an incredible book. Very, very helpful, and it's going to tell you a lot of stuff that should be obvious, but we don't think about it.
Right.
So my closing statement is, when you talk to the people about this, as Cody said, a lot of times we almost talk about it as if we're embarrassed, but the easiest way to sell something is with certainty in your mind, your frame of mind, as you say it.
Correct.
So if I tell you about foam fighting, and I tell it to you like it's the coolest thing in the world, and I have the right tonality and body language, and I lead and pace your emotions as I'm speaking, I'm going to get you in the same mood that I'm in. And that's when you go, I could give this a try. So just keep that in mind when you talk about the sport. Don't talk about this like this is something we should be embarrassed about. Don't go, oh, you know, I fight with foam swords, or I'm, you know, it's like it's a thing I do. Like I like Lord of the Rings, or no, like be like no, dude, this is really fun. I have a lot of fun doing this. I've learned these skills from this sport. We go out. Some of us have martial arts experience. Some of us are ex-military, so on and so forth. And you will see how that energy translates into what you're saying and how it's more likely to pull people in. So thank you guys for listening to us. Does anybody have any quick questions? We only have like a little bit of time left. Any questions, or do you think we covered everything?
Thank you for listening to us ramble.
Yeah, guys. Seriously, thank you so much.